Time for the Roots and Roots Show with your host, Greg Rashid. Bringing you history and music from the Black American diaspora. The goal of this show is to empower you with information that you can then seed and grow within your community. Now, here's your host, Greg Rashid.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone out there in the universe that's listening to the show. This is Greg Rashid with another edition of the Root and Root Show. For many folks, they listen at their convenience online at various platforms, be it iTunes, on Facebook, YouTube. For some reason, I have a lot of folks that listen to me in India. And it's funny, well, India's next door to Thailand, so that makes sense. And that's where I'm based in Bangkok, Thailand. But a lot of folks listen every Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. Mountain Time on KUHSdenver.com, created by the one and only, the legendary Henry Archuleta. And I want to say hi to all my friends in the Denver and Colorado region. I plan to be back there again at some point because a lot of you know I lived there for 20 years. So I, hoping to get back there again. But right now, I'm here in Bangkok, Thailand, enjoying the hot weather today. And as I always say, you may hear some background noises of people selling fruit, selling various wares because I'm out on the balcony. But I hope you enjoy the show as you enjoy the other shows, because this is going to be a very excellent show because I have a great guest. And my guest is the author of a book from McFarland Press, Women in Mixed Race Representation in Film, 8-star profiles. I'm talking about Valerie C. Gilbert. Are you there, Valerie?
I'm here, Greg. Hello. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy to have you on here today. And I'm so happy that you wrote this book because this book was very much needed. It's very much needed. And as far as not only a biography of 8 actresses in film, but also you get into this history in general. As you talk about these actresses, you talk about what's going on at the time that they're performing, what's going on, as far as their family life, a little bit of everything. I really appreciate that. So this book was very, very needed as far as just bringing this issue to the forefront. And I want you to tell my listeners, first of all, why did you decide to write this particular book? What in your background made you decide, well, I got to write this?
Well, Greg, let me tell you a little bit about my background. My mother is Black, and she was born in the West Indies in Trinidad. And my father is white, and he was born in England. And while I was working on my BFA degree at the University of Washington, I decided to take a couple of film studies classes. Well, prior to this, I was not a regular film goer, and I could say I even did not enjoy films. I didn't understand them, which might sound like a strange thing to say, but they really didn't make a lot of sense to me. So these film classes equipped me with a set of tools to help me understand films and also appreciate them.
Right.
But they also caused me to wonder why, up to that point, I was so disconnected from the film experience. And as I was contemplating this, it brought to mind the 1934 film Imitation of Life, starring Freddie Washington.
Yes.
As a young light-skinned Black woman who wants to and does pass for white. And what really struck me about that film, which I did not see until the 1990s, I saw it on television.
Oh, wow.
What really struck me was this image of this light-skinned Black woman and her dark-skinned mother. It's something I had never seen on TV or in a film before. And quite frankly, even today, it's kind of a rare thing to see. So that was really the first time I identified with a character in a film. And
it makes so much sense you saying that, because it's just even in the 21st century, you're talking about a film from 1934
Right.
and 90, actually almost 90 some years ago. And
Yep.
still, the representation is not there in films.
That's
You know,
true.
and it's amazing. That's why this book is so important. And I know that one of your inspirations was someone we talked off camera, off line about Donald Bogle and his book, his pioneering book on Black film, and talk a little bit about that and what that book meant to you.
That book, which is entitled Toms, Coons, Mulattoes, Mammies, and Bucks, was a book I discovered just by chance. At the time, I was taking these film studies classes and I was just poking around in the library and I happened to find it. And it really had a big influence on me because the films we were studying in the film studies classes were all white films.
Right.
And I was wondering, well, what about Black people in film? Where is their place? And so fortunately, I found this book and it really had a great influence on me. It's for those who haven't read it, it's a history of Black film. And there's lots of
pioneering history.
yeah.
I mean, the book
Yeah.
is just, I had the fortune of meeting Donald Bogle when I was going to Ohio State University back in '76, and I got the book, and just incredible. It's amazing, Valerie, to realize that book is not in most. It's not being taught. It's not being taught in any film school. Maybe on
Wow.
some Black colleges and all, but really, it's not there, and it should be in every film school because it's important. Because it
It is
describes
important.
every stereotype that you see in film now in the 21st century.
Yes.
It describes everything. And I have to say, I let my listeners know, let you know too, that my copy, I still have my copy I got back in the '70s, but my copy is autographed by Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee. When they gave a speech at Ohio State University, and I asked them, could you autograph this? And I just cherish it. It goes everywhere with me. Be in the United States or now in Thailand. I take it everywhere. It goes all over the world with me. And I'm just so grateful for that book, as well as I'm grateful for your book, because this book will now be going everywhere with me also, because you've done a
Thank you.
fascinating job. And I just want, I want to talk about, because you talk about 8 actresses in this book, but I want you to concentrate first of all on 2 actresses. One being, and before we even do that, something that you do in the book that really surprised, there are some films, it's silent films. You talk a lot about some silent films, but there's one in particular who I've talked about this film many times on my show, but talk about the influence of Birth of a Nation as far as
Oh
the
my
writing
gosh.
of this book. Yeah, I have talked about that movie a number of times. But talk about how that influenced your writing.
Well, there's so much to say about that film. And truthfully, I don't even know if I feel qualified to talk about it, but I will say this: it was a silent film, and it's really considered the beginning of modern filmmaking because of the length of the film.
Right.
Prior to Birth of a Nation, most of the films were like what they called 1 or 2 reel films, which meant they lasted maybe 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And I forget the number of reels that Birth of a Nation was,
it's
but
a 3-hour
it's
movie.
a very
Yeah.
long film. Yes, it's
Yeah.
a 3-hour film. And it had all these, complex film techniques, it's editing and cross editing. And so for that reason, it's, regarded as a monument in modern filmmaking. But by the same token, it's, one of the most racist films ever made. And it's really glorifying the Ku Klux Klan.
Right. Yes.
And the reason I talk about it is because there are 2 mixed race mulatto characters in that film. One is a man and one is a woman. And I would argue even more so than the Black characters in that film, the mixed race characters are seen as particularly threatening.
Right.
So
Definitely.
that's why I
And these
brought
mixed race characters in the film also in a lighter shade of blackface because these are
they
white
are
actors. Yes.
they are white actors in what I call brown face.
Right. Definitely. But that movie leads to a number of other silent films. But by the late 20s and 30s, you get the movies that have, sound and what we have now. But I want to talk about one actress who kind of starts like that whole myth of, the tragic mulatto and, the dangerous temperance. And I'm talking about
Yeah.
Nina Mae McKinney, because a lot of folks don't know her. And talk about her and her importance to film and her importance in the Black community, for those who don't know.
Well, Nina Mae McKinney was Hollywood's first sexy Black movie star, and she's was in an early talking picture. And actually, Nina Mae McKinney, I use her image to talk about the two roles that were basically available to Black women at that
Right.
time. And that was the Mammy, which is very well represented in The Birth of a Nation, and the Jezebel. But so she was really the first Jezebel in a talking film to come out of Hollywood, anyway. And
And the film was Hallelujah.
The film was Hallelujah. Yes, that's right. And those were really the only two roles that Black women could take on in those days. And they're really, the idea of a sexy Black movie star was not really that popular. So, the Mammy was more of a popular role for Black women.
Because the studios, they signed her, was it 20th Century that signed her to a 7-year contract? She was the first Black actress to have a major contract for studio, for Hollywood studio. The first male actor was Stephen Fetchie, with the story in itself.
That's right.
But they didn't know.
It was MGM.
MGM, I'm sorry. But they didn't really know, as you say in the book, you have this gorgeous woman, who's still a teenager, actually, because when she does Hallelujah, she's what, 16, 17?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And they're calling her, which I hate when, you always see this, and, you even see it today, but, they were calling her the Black Garbo, after Greta Garbo. And like, why can't Greta Garbo be the white Nina Mae McKinney? Why can't she be that? But that's how they do things. But she gets this role and she does this role and she's fabulous in it. I mean, and I think I think you can look at it on YouTube. I've seen it a number of times over the years. And the movie for some may seem corny because of the acting at some points and the dancing and singing on the one hand, but look at McKinney. I mean, she rises above all of that in that movie. And just talk about her role in that.
Well, she is the temptress, the Jezebel. She's the dangerous mulatto, and it's her sexuality is what makes her dangerous. And she's in a love triangle with two Black men. One is from the South and one is from the North. And ultimately, she dies.
Right. That happens. Yeah. The tragic mulatto. She's got to go. She got to die.
Yeah, ultimately she has to go.
But after that movie, we talk about her roles after that, how she's, excluding the Black films, because she ends up being in a lot of Black made and produced movies. But as far as white Hollywood, they don't really know how to portray her.
Right. They don't know what to do with her. And Well, she was in a